As an HCP marketer, I'm always looking for ways to be creative when it comes to content creation. And there's a trend that's been going on for about 18 months now, or even longer, that I want to showcase in this video right now. And it's a great way to leverage the video, but then the audio. So what's been going on the last 18 months is, as an HCP marketer, how do you influence those, niche HCPs that you're trying to reach? Well, podcasting is a way, because they're in their car, they're in the trains, planes, automobiles, going to conferences and those sorts of things. So how do you take advantage of that? Well, create a podcast. And in this video, I'm going to break down a strategy where you can get your podcast launched, but also create a lot of other additional assets that you can leverage for video. Let's go. In this episode, I'm going to break down a trend that's been going on for many months now, and I'm going to walk you through specifically a case study. So when you go to your 2024 planning, because it's budget season right now, and most of my clients are finishing conferences, going to remaining conferences, and then also thinking about 2024. So I thought this episode, speaking specifically around a trend, may help as you go into your planning season for next year. And this trend's been going on for many, many months now, but a lot of clients just aren't really taking advantage of it. But I've got one case study in particular that I wanted to walk you through, and it's around podcasting. That's the trend, and it's really capturing that audio. The trend is going on because a lot of niche HCPs, well, they're consuming audio. And the reason they're doing that is they're driving to their healthcare location, the hospital, their practice, and they've got time. And it varies, obviously, but there's a variety of different formats that you can capture, really long formats, shorter formats. What I would recommend is just testing, learning, and optimizing. That's the key with this when it comes to podcasting and audio. But this case study that I'm going to break down is specifically not only for podcasting and the audio, but then also how you can leverage high quality video. And I'm going to put it up here on the screen for a second, just so you can get a quick visual. So the client we worked with, this was at a major conference that they go to every single year. So how do they leverage that? Because conferences are a great opportunity to capture a lot of amazing content when it comes to audio, but then video, because all of your key decision makers, those KOLs, are all in one location. So take advantage of that, leverage that, help develop this type of content, because as you know, if you're watching this episode, peer-to-peer content is liquid gold when it comes to content, meaning like it's the best that you can leverage to increase product adoption, right? Solution adoption. Everybody wants adoption, right, for their solution. Well, peer-to-peer, right? Meaning like your KOLs talking about your test, your device, your solution in the marketplace, and how it's changing patient outcomes, right? That's the best thing to do, is have your peers talk about it. So let me put up here on the screen. So visually here, there's 4 different pictures, but ultimately what we ended up doing is we went on site to 2 major conferences for a client, capturing a lot of great audio podcast content. But what we ended up doing here, as you can tell on the screen, we did a few different angles when it came to the camera to capture that high quality. We ended up producing several video assets that were anywhere from about 3 to 5 minutes. So that's a great time length when it comes to educating your niche HCP in the audience. That's the video portion of it. But what we ended up doing is, the cameras were still running, I believe, or maybe not, doesn't really matter. We had that conversation go on for another 15 or 20 minutes. And each one of those audio clips were 15 to 20 minutes for the podcast. So this was happening simultaneously, right? So when you go to your 2024 planning for content, what we're able to do with these 2 different setups, again, 2 major conferences, I believe we had about 3 KOLs for each setup. So ultimately what we ended up doing was long form content for the video. Okay, so that's 3 to 5 minutes. We probably had 3 or 4 videos for those for each individual location. And then we had 3 or 4 long format podcasts, right? So basically, if you think about it from a content perspective, content strategy, there was probably 6 or 7 videos, 3 to 5 minutes, and then 6 or 7 podcasts that were 15 to 20 minutes. So you've got a ton of content that you can leverage. So if you're just launching your podcast, this is a great, efficient way to do it, because we captured this all in 2 days. Now, you don't need to do it in 2 days because these were two different locations. But if you've got a marquee conference that you're thinking about, this is a great way to do it. Again, you've got all your KOLs all in one location. It's a dynamic place to either do it close by. So the screenshot that I just put up there, and I'm going to include a link to this and these videos that you can consume. And then also, I'm going to talk about a little bit more about another case study specifically around podcasting and how you can do it. But before I get into that one, I want to finish this one. So I'm going to include a link in the description below so you can check it out. It's going to actually take you to my LinkedIn profile where I posted about this content strategy, the breakdown, the setup, the client that we worked with on this, so you can check it out on your own. The other thing to think about is when you're at these conferences and trade shows and you're designing your booth. I was just at a conference 2 weeks ago. I've seen this many times. You may have seen this at your conferences before, but they've developed a studio inside their actual booth. And I'm going to include a picture and a link to this in the description below. I don't have it ready right now, but ultimately what you can do is carve out a little spot right into your booth and then have a couple camera setups, have 2 side-by-side chairs. What we're calling that in the industry, it's like a fireside chat. It's a more intimate way, less produced when it comes to the script. A lot of clients come to us and they say, hey, we want to do teleprompter, which that's totally fine. If you've got a legal regulatory issue and you're heavily, when it comes to legal, definitely want to do probably a script. The challenge with that, it's not as organic, right? It doesn't look as authentic. And so when you do these podcasts, these fireside chats, the video as well, you definitely want to be more authentic. You want it to be like, hey, these HCPs are talking to me like a normal conversation versus trying to do some sort of scripting. And they're scripting, obviously, if you have a legal situation, regulatory is real heavy in your industry. When it comes to maybe pharma, that becomes more challenging. Typically, when it comes to medical device, life science, genetics, and genomics, we can kind of get away without a script. But let's say, for example, the KOL goes off script. That's the great thing about doing this pre-record. Obviously, you can go in there and you can edit it on the video side. You can edit it on the audio side as well. So it's a great way, again, to really capture a ton of content when you launch your podcast. And the biggest thing, one of the biggest takeaways when you launch a podcast, you definitely want to be consistent with it. And you want to think about like a TV show. So every Tuesday, I push this out from a podcast standpoint, my episode. So when you go to your 2024 content strategy, think about how you can get ahead of the game, meaning like have a lot of content canned and ready to go 30 days in advance. When I was just mentioning this client case study, that's what they did. So we ended up working with them. Again, we had a ton of video assets, but then also all those audio podcasts. So when you start developing your podcast, you definitely want to have a hopper full of content in there that you can leverage so you can start posting every Wednesday at 7 a.m. So you can start aligning your audience and getting them interested whenever you launch your podcast. The other great thing about podcast style video that we were capturing for this client is we're leveraging and they're leveraging YouTube. YouTube recently, just this year, launched a podcast channel or playlist that you can put on your YouTube channel. So that's something also to consider for your content strategy for next year. If this video has been helpful, it's been valuable, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and look forward to bringing more valuable information next week. Bye for now.